Hi, and welcome everyone. This is Hobo Prepper, and I am. I hope you guys are doing well. We were at Burger King because we had to stop. We stopped off for breakfast, and we're going to do my live stream there. However, because of the poor Wi-Fi connection, we had to move down to Starbucks. So I apologize about the background noise. Let me know if you guys can hear me. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of streaming business, just so that you guys can be aware of a change that's going to happen. So as you guys can see, I'll show you my arm here. As you guys can see, I am here. Hold on, let me switch to OBS so I can actually see. So as you can see here, I am donating plasma. So, and part of donating plasma is I'm getting paid so that I can offset a lot of the cost that is being incurred. Now, one thing that I'm going to ask you guys moving forward, I've got to turn it off in the settings. I just haven't gotten a chance. And we're going to be, part of what we're talking about today is going to be why I haven't gotten a chance, because we're going to talk about owning nothing and being happy, and about how it's actually been part of this process for quite some time. And it's been part of our society. They've just kind of come out publicly and stated it as a public idea or a public opinion. Okay, but anyways, what's going to be happening here moving forward, and just let me know if you guys can hear me. I haven't had a chance to do a sound test, so just let me know. I gotta look here and make sure that everything is working. Okay, yeah, my volume is off. Okay, for some reason my stream health is not doing well. I don't know if it's the connection here. Hey, it keeps going in and out. So, anyways, we're working on. Oh. Okay, that should fix it, right? All right. So we've got that fixed. Okay, that should be applying now. Okay. Let's see here. It's going up. No. Okay, now it keeps going between red and green. So let me know if you guys can hear me, and we're doing a little bit of technical support right now. I'm glad I got help here. But anyways, with what's going on here is that because I'm donating plasma, is that I'm gonna have to start doing my live streams on Sundays. You're gonna want to go up here to OBS. Next one over. Oh, yeah. So we're looking at this here. Okay. So one thing that's going to be happening here is, sorry guys if the stream seems like it's not doing well. Let me know if it is, if it's shaking or not. Let me go into OBS and I'm going to record. I should have checked here. Hold on a second here, guys. This is why I started a little bit early, so that I can work out the bugs. Output, recording, enable custom encoder. Okay, because I'm streaming, I can't. I need to start recording. Okay, well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. All right, guys. So I know next time I'm gonna have to. Okay, I hope all is well. Alright, Mr. Maflash Guy, nice to see you here. How's my sound? Are you guys able to hear me? Am I too loud? Is the background noise too loud? Can you hear me? Okay, so that's the question that I have for you guys. But it looks like... Okay, for stream settings. Okay, so... okay, I'm not exactly sure why this is happening yet. Okay, so sound is good. How about the quality? Is it skipping? Am I cutting in and out? If you guys could let me know that, I'd be appreciated as well. Thanks, Flash Guy. Okay, Oh, excuse me, my fish guy. Sorry, I saw. I did not read that. Screen is small. Oh, and you know, sign of me getting older, and I'm probably gonna have to put them on now so that I can read your comments. Is that I now have to wear reading glasses. So, I mean, oh yeah, no, that's not gonna work for me. Okay, so yeah, I'm reading a book right now. Video is good too. Okay, good to know. So yeah, I'm reading a book right now, and I have to use reading glasses to see it because the print's so small, you know, and I'm getting a little older here. So, but anyways, guys, so yeah, I'm gonna start doing live streams on Sundays. Okay, and I'm gonna be doing it around 10 o'clock in the morning, like I'm doing now, but it's just gonna be on Sundays instead of on. Hold on, let me fix this. It's going to be on Sundays instead of on Saturdays, just because I donate plasma, and I don't want to rush, because when I rush, it kind of makes me a little agitated, makes me a little anxious, because, you know, I have this thing about being on time. It's my old man, you know, once, just to kind of tell you a little story as we're waiting for people to come in here. I see that we've got a few people in here already, and yeah, we've got 3 people in here already, and thank you for hitting the like button, much appreciated. But I used to be late for everything until one day my old man says, well, next time you're late, you're going to miss out on whatever it is. And well, I think I was maybe 30 seconds late, and I missed out on dinner one night. You know, I'm a fat boy. That's the one thing you don't want to take away from me is my dinner. So you know, I learned to be on time real quick. All right, so let's get into the topic here. So we all know, and because of the videos that have been made out there, that the World Economic Forum has said you will own nothing and be happy. And you know, the thing is it's been going on for a while. So I'm gonna, as part of my agreement with my mentor, is that I cannot defame the authority, so that means I've got to be careful when using names and stuff like that. So you guys won't hear me say direct names, but I will kind of give you my experience, you know, as a way of kind of explaining it. So I own an HP Omen. Okay, I bought it for video production. This October it will be 2 years old, and you know, because my old man is retired Army, I was able to get it through AFES, which is the military store. And so we're finding out some things, and I'm learning some different things about how, you know, when you buy an OEM machine, whether it be name brand or off brand, and you want to install something other than what it came with, you're gonna have issues. And this is one of the things that I'm finding out with my machine. So we wanted to install Linux on my machine, and I'm actually becoming a big fan of Linux. It's not as complicated as everybody says it is. If I can figure it out, so can you. Even though I was in the IT field, I still don't consider myself to be tech savvy. Okay, and so what ends up happening is, as we're trying to install Linux, I have an NVIDIA video card, a 6 gigabyte video card that is on my laptop, and you know, I bought it because to work with Adobe, to work with their video production software, you need a minimum of, I think it's either a 2 or a 4 gigabyte video card. And so I made sure to go a little bit above it, just so that I would have good performance when creating content. Okay, and so when we're going through and we're trying to install it, well, guess what? The NVIDIA does not work with it. And why is it not working with it? Well, part of it has to do with the new release of Linux, because Linux is becoming more security based, and the reason why is just because with everything that's happening in the digital world, if you don't emphasize security and privacy, then you're doing a disservice to the end user. And within the predominant systems like Microsoft and Apple, you know, they kind of configure all that for you, whereas with Linux you get to configure that yourself. You get to take complete control of your operating system. And the nice thing is it is it's free, but not free as in free lunch, but free as in freedom. So says the book. So right now I am reading Linux for Dummies just so that I can get to an understanding, because I'm one of those people, I really like to learn things inside and out. If I would have been allowed to as a kid, I would have ripped apart all kinds of technology and then tried to figure out how to put it together, just because of how curious I am about how everything works, and I kind of want to know these things. And so that's why I'm reading the book, just so that I can get my geek on and really understand it the way that I want to understand it. And so when we go to install the NVIDIA card, so that we can get it to work with Linux, because right now at the time it was just using proprietary software. It's just something that comes with the operating system, so that you can get a graphical interface. And the thing is because of the way that my OEM has set everything up, they prevented it through secure boot. They prevented me from being able to add anything than what had already come with the system. Which, when you buy a system, I don't know about you, but this is just how I feel. When you buy a system, I spent good money on it. I went out and bought a quality machine, expecting to be able to get quality hardware and to be able to do with it what I want, because I own it. If I decide to open it up and void the warranty, that's on me. Because I purchase it, and if I want to throw my money away like that, I can. However, the thing is because the OEM has license agreements with the software, the operating system that they provided me with, which most machines now come with Windows, unless you go by like a Chromebook, okay? So, I mean, you guys can use your deductive reasoning here. And so it prevented me from being able to do that. So we actually had to go in and do a workaround, and it's not something that I'm going to talk about, because it's, it's just, we'll just call it as part of a non-disclosure, okay? So there are a lot of things that I may be able to share with you, but because of the level and quality of information that I get, I cannot necessarily disclose. I can kind of hint at it, I can talk about it, but I've got to be careful in what I say, just so that I don't violate any disclosure agreements that either me or the people that are sharing this information with me are giving me. Okay, so it's integrated with Linux kernel is a free method third module named Navu. Yes, Navu. Yes, and that's what we started with. But we had to turn Navu off in order to get it to work with the kernel. Okay, and then but the thing is we had to go do something with the UFEI. I think that's the correct term. We had to go do something with the UEFI in order to work around the secure boot, because I'm using Debian, okay, and Debian it kind of locks some stuff down to begin with. So secure boot enabled, the Windows BIOS key is still active. Yes, it is. Okay, so nice to see you, investigative reporter. Okay, so with this happening, we were able to find out how much of the original manufacturer, the operating system and their agreements, how much control they actually had over the machine. So because I'm not able to do with it what I want, and to be able to uninstall and reinstall whatever operating system I want, do you have any aspirations to get a vehicle again now that you're off trail? Something like that is in the works. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I'm going to be migrating here in the next month or two, and when that happens, I will talk about it. But yes, it won't be my vehicle, but I may get use of a vehicle, as being a driver. Okay, but anyways, that's one thing that happened. And the other thing that happened is, okay, so I've got this machine. I paid good quality money for it. I paid I could go get, if I wanted a crap machine, if I wanted legacy hardware, if I wanted something that wasn't going to work properly, or that was going to be, cheaply done, I would go spend $300 to $400 on a off-brand laptop, so that I could surf the internet, because we all know that the internet is for porn. Okay, so anyways, so getting into that, I'm finding out that the hardware in which they gave me, there's only two pieces of hardware that was actually that I purchased that was actually worth the purchase. One is the video card, because it's a 6 gig video card. The other thing is the processor, just because for an Intel in a laptop, it actually is a decent processor, and of course the motherboard, which has the most up-to-date specs. But what this manufacturer did is they gave me the NVMe, which is it's a virtual hard drive essentially. That was about 7 years old when they installed it, and from what I understand, from what was being told to me, is that because it was a name brand, a brand that my old man loved. My old man loved Samsung, and I think Samsung does good quality when it comes to video and hardware. Just my opinion, and a lot of that has to do with my old man's influence. But they go through QA, and if it doesn't pass QA, then they go off and they sell it. And my manufacturer, which is a name brand, you probably see these type of machines out in the public a lot. This name brand company decided to use something that was old and broken, and then the thing is they did a workaround by making it a secondary drive versus a primary drive. But as we were going through and looking in the thanks, investigative reporter. As we were, going through and checking my hardware and making sure that the hardware works, because you go through the BIOS and the BIOS says, oh yeah, all your hardware is great, but then when you actually do a real check, it doesn't work. And then the not only that, the specs, because it was a quality piece of hardware as far as my NVMe. It was able to, it worked at a higher throughput so that, I could read and write. So when you're trying to save something to your hard drive, a lot of that has to do with your read-write speed, okay? And so what they did is they throttled it back. So not only did they give me something that was broken, that did not pass quality, but then they also throttled it back and then put their own branding on it, completely violating the warranty. And so one of the things that I'm really, really learning is that when you go out and you purchase something, especially like something name brand like my Omen, or you go and get a Dell or they don't have gateways anymore. But you go out there and you buy a quality brand that has a good brand reputation. Is that not only do you not own the hardware, but they may have violated the manufacturer's warranty on it as well. And that is something that as an individual, that is it's an issue, okay? And so this is something that I'm learning, but just to kind of stack on this. So this laptop is 2 years old. So this is before the World Economic Forum said you will own nothing and be happy. And we can go back even further. When I was in driver's ed, our driving instructor, one of the first pieces of advice he gave us was, when you go buy a car, buy it cash, because you'll get a better deal. Well, you don't get a better deal anymore, but 20 plus years ago, you'd get a better deal, okay? 25 years ago, you would have gotten a better deal by paying cash than what you do now. But the other thing is that he also told us that what we needed to get was the certificate of origin, okay? So when you go and you buy a car, okay, it gets manufactured and all the parts are in different places, and then it gets assembled somewhere else. Sometimes it gets assembled here in the States, sometimes it gets assembled overseas. And when it comes into port, the skipper, the guy that runs the ship, what he has to do when he comes into port is he has to grant and convey interest in the property. The port actually takes ownership of it while it's in port, because they're responsible for anything that happens to it. So therefore, they've got to take possession. And so what they get is what's called a certificate of origin. Where was it made? Where was it manufactured? It's essentially what the VIN number is tied to. It's a little bit more detailed than the VIN number, but it shows where it came from and who manufactured it and what parts were used. And so you're supposed to be able to get that when you go and you purchase a car. Well, guess what? you can't even get that anymore. So what happens to that certificate of the certificate of authority, or the certificate of origin? Okay. So before I get into that, let's talk about title. They always say that possession is 9/10 of the law. Okay. But what is that 1/10? And that 1/10 happens to be title. Title is the most important thing, because I can possess something, but if I don't have title, which means I don't have ownership, then at any time the title holder can come and revoke my use of that. So when you are in possession of something without physical title, we're not talking about the title that you go down and you get at the DMV, because what you're doing is you're doing something else there, and I'm not going to talk about that right now because I want to go in sequential order. Okay, so where does that certificate of origin go? Well, as part of it coming into the port, it now gets sent to the federal government. The federal government is actually the one that gets to hold on to it. Okay, it becomes an asset in their books, and in a lot of ways it works because of the 14th Amendment. Okay, because you and I were used as collateral for the debt, our labor, our assets, everything that it is that we have. Okay, and so this is part of the change that started happening in the 1930s and just kind of become to fruition. It's become a normal part of our society. So for a very long time we've owned nothing, and we've been completely happy about it. Okay, so when you're required by the federal government to go get insurance, the reason why you're required is because they are the title holders. They can revoke your ability to use that vehicle at any point in time. So they put certain stipulations to limit their ability. But in the technicality of it, now go to court and try and say something like this, they will kind of look at you cross-eyed for a couple of reasons that I'm not going to talk about. However, it's a legal term, and you can go look it up. It's called escheat. I believe it's spelled ESCHEAT or CHET. Go look up the term and you'll understand it. But essentially, it is a silent owner. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to come take your car away from you. They're not going to tell you this and that and the other. But what they do is, in the event, because it is their property, because they are title owners, they are required to have a secondary piece of insurance on it as well. So if you were actually somebody who runs around without insurance and you get into a wreck, okay, if you get into a wreck and yet you don't have insurance, technically, through the law of escheat, the federal government is actually responsible for the damages done, but they don't want to be responsible. You're using it, you're paying for, you're leasing it under the guise that you presumably own it, but you don't. Okay, and this is kind of how it works. Same thing with property. Okay. When you go and you buy property, you don't actually own the land. Okay, you're paying rent on the land in the form of taxes. And what is happening there is that you own the dwelling, the structure. But because you are financing it, you get possession of it, but the bank retains title of it. And because again, 9/10 versus 1/10, which one's more important? Ask yourself this question: which one is more important, title or possession? I would rather have title over possession any day of the week, because with title I can take possession, which is why the banks can come kick you out of your house when you don't make your payments, is because they own title. Okay, and so, but the thing is when you go and you buy, you're buying the structure. Okay, you're not necessarily paying for the land. Now they can value the land as part of the structure because it's an add-on, it's an amenity, but nobody actually owns the land, because the federal government owns the land as well. And so that's why you have to pay taxes. Now there are ways to be able to get your property off of, to where you can actually own your property, but it is a long and drawn out process, because you're going to have to go look back to the original property records to see who originally owned that property, and last person to own that property under title, because the government takes possession of it as abandoned property, because somebody's got to hold on to it. Okay, and so you may be just a small section of a large swath of land that was owned, let's say pre-1900. Okay, and with that process, you got to figure out who owned it, and then through the wills and estates. So like when you pass away, there is, your property gets passed to your posterity. Well, if they haven't come in and made a claim on it, then you get a chance to come in and make a claim on it. But that's still not the end of the process. The next thing that you have to do is you're going to have to unregister it from whatever incorporation it's registered in. And part of doing that, so they have things, and this is across the country, it's called communal property. Okay, and with communal property, when you receive water, sewer, electricity, any public utility to your residence that goes through the land, it now becomes communal property, and the government takes ownership of the land itself. Yet you still own the structure, and so therefore they can tax you because again they hold title because it's their property, it's their equipment, because it is a public utility that comes in there and takes that from you. Okay. And so you would have to completely, this is what it really means if you're saying, oh, I want to go off grid. That means that you're going to have to go to the police department, and you're going to have to do a bond for the police department if you want them to come onto your property and deal anything with it, because once you take it off the grid, they are no longer responsible for it, whether it be police, fire, or medical. So you would have to go out there and you would have to bond them out. So does it make financial sense to go off grid? Well, it depends upon how much money you actually have. If you have a large amount of money, you can do it because you're going to have to pay for a bond for the police department, for the fire department, and you may have to renew that bond every year. You're going to have to go out there because they can't come onto your property unless they're bonded. And same thing with the electricity and things like that. So that means that you would have to provide your own electricity, your own water, your own septic tank, and then at that point in time, they can't tell you anything that you can do on your land or in your dwelling. But again, do you have the finances and the funds to be able to do that? Or would you rather pay, a small little property tax as part of the community to be able to cover the cost of the bonds and the cost of this and the cost of that, to be able to receive those services? Because, it costs a lot of money to be able to upkeep that. So again, for a long period of time, we've owned nothing, and we've all been happy about it. We think we own what it is that we own, but the technicality is that we don't really own anything. It is owned by other entities, whether it be the company that manufactured it, all the way up to the federal government. Now, you might be asking, well, why are they doing this? Why would they do something like this? This is against the Constitution. This is against that. Technically, no, because there is a clause within the Constitution that prevents the federal government from, that prevents you as an individual from using the Constitution to get out of a contract once you've signed a contract. So let's say you go and you get food stamps. Well, you are signing away and waiving certain rights, such as your right to privacy in your bank account, because they want to verify that you're as broke as you say you are, or to be able to look you up in certain ways, or to be able to require that you provide certain information. They can require that because what you're doing is you're signing a separate contract that is extra constitutional to be able to receive those services. So to be able to complain and say, well, the federal government has no right to do that is absolutely wrong. And if you're over on my Patreon, I think next week and the week after, I talk about this a little bit more in depth. But essentially, when you sign a contract, if it violates the Constitution cannot come in and save you. So whenever you do something, whether it be an end-user license agreement, whether it be a lease, whether it be a contract, regardless of whatever it is that you sign, it is your duty, your obligation, your responsibility to sit back and to read that through and through, to understand the terms and conditions, because the saying still applies. Ignorance is no excuse, whether it be ignorance of the law or ignorance of your contract. Your laziness to not follow through and not read that is something that is on you. You had the opportunity to read through it and go, no, this is a violation. No, this is a violation. No, I won't do this. But in a lot of ways, these are what you call unilateral contracts. It's a take it or leave it. You don't have the opportunity to negotiate, like when you go and get food stamps. You don't have the right to negotiate, and they will not negotiate with you if you say, no, you can't look at my bank account. Okay, now you can commit fraud and lie, but then if you get caught, you're going to have to suffer the consequences. Okay, but when you're doing a contract between an individual, so you and me, we decide to do a contract. Now you and I have the opportunity in our meeting of the minds to be able to haggle and negotiate the terms and conditions that are fair to both parties. Okay. Something that we can all agree on, and that's the beauty of contracting. A good book that I would suggest that you read, and I have read it. It's called Contracting with Examples and Explanations. You can get it. You can get it on Amazon. It's a college textbook. I think I read like the third or fifth edition of it. But it gives examples, and it helped me understand contracting and how contracting works. And I was able to start writing my own contracts after reading that, so I didn't have to rely on a lawyer coming in and putting legalese and taking something and just making it as verbose as possible, not only to confuse but to also deter somebody from reading it, because it's in your best interest, especially if you are trying to make sure that you get the best deal and your agreement may not be completely fair to the individual. It's in your best interest to make the contract lengthy enough to where they're just like, okay, I'm just going to sign it because there's a certain amount of trust that's there, and that's taking advantage of it. But you as an individual, that is your duty and obligation to be able to fulfill and to read that. Okay, so this is why it's important to be able to read your contracts and to be able to understand the things that are going on and the agreements that you get into. Okay, one of the most important things I learned as a freeman is that in order to be free, it has a certain requirement, whether it be being free economically, which means you need to go out and educate yourself on economics, and to be able to negotiate your own pay and your own worth through contracting, and to be able to understand what it is that you want and that you feel that you're worth, and to go out there and get something like that. Okay, all the way down to your legal freedom by understanding the basics of the law. The law is not really as complicated as they'd like to make it. One of the easiest ways that I found to understand the law is to read the Uniform Commercial Code, because most of the states within the Union of 50 states have adopted the Uniform Commercial Code, and then they've just taken those definitions and those rules, and they have redefined them down to a specific, down to a finite scale, so that they could say, well, if and or and things like that. But it takes all of maybe 20 minutes to read the whole Uniform Commercial Code, because that is the base on how we operate in commerce. Okay, so I hope that I've helped you guys understand a little bit of why you own nothing, and you've already been happy about it. It's not something you should complain about. Okay, if you want to complain about it, what it means is that you're unwilling to go out there and you're unwilling to educate yourself. If you guys have noticed, I have done, even on this channel, I have continuously educated myself in one form or fashion, whether it is understanding how to travel, whether it's understanding how to travel, whether it's understanding, my rights and how to enforce them, whether it's understanding how to be able to write a contract, read a contract, and make sure to enforce, fairness within the contractual agreement, or my ability to negotiate with people, my ability to be able to go out there and to make my own way, because in so many ways, people think that just because you're American, you are born free, and that's not exactly true. You have the right to freedom, but you have to earn it. Okay, it's not earned out on the battlefield. It's earned through your own perseverance, through your own self-education, through your own ability to understand what it is that you're doing and to be educated and proficient enough in it to be able to operate, which is why right now I'm taking the time for my mentor to learn about digital privacy, so I can bring the topic of digital privacy to you, because I think it is important to all of us to be able to maintain our Fourth Amendment right of privacy. but that requires that you enforce it. That requires that you educate, understand what is privacy, what areas do you not get privacy. So you're out in public. If I decided to film right here out in the parking lot, nobody can say anything about it and say, oh, well, I want my right to privacy, because they're in the public. But when they're behind closed doors, they have their right to privacy. When they're on their computer, they have their right to privacy. Okay, and these are just things that you as an individual, whether you want to call yourself a prepper or just somebody who is just a geek like me and likes to learn a lot of different topics and a lot of different things, you know, it is what it is. Man, that's a good cup of coffee. Put hair in your chest. So I have talked quite a bit, and I want to leave the floor open for questions. I see that investigative reporter, you've been very active in chat, and you've helped me educate everybody on Linux a little bit. But you know, why Linux? And you know, I was asked this question by my mentor. It's like, you know, now that you've been from Windows and now that you're over on Linux, you know, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? And you know, from my point of view, it's like this. I spent $40,000 to go to school to learn how to become a Windows administrator. You know, I took the classes, I went off to get my MCSE, I went off to educate myself in that form or fashion so that I can maintain and administer commercial networks, whether it be for a large corporate company all the way down to a small mom and pop shop. Okay, and all the things that Windows teaches you is great and fantastic, but you know, it's like, if you want, Linux is easy. Okay, so take it from an end user perspective. You go onto your computer and all you want to do is you just want to surf the internet. Well, guess what? You can do the same thing on Linux. But here's the thing: Microsoft is going to take your hardware and they're going to load everything in there all at once instead of just what you need. Because, you know, think of it like this: do you want a car with all the bells and whistles, a lot of them that you won't use, or do you want a car that's going to have the bells and whistles that you're going to use and that you can configure it yourself? Most people who I would consider, you know, at least intelligent in the way that they purchase, are going to want the car that has the bells and whistles they need, because, you know, they may not need heated seats because they're in Florida, for example. Who in Florida wants heated seats? I mean, if anything, you want cooled seats. So why would you want that amenity? Why would you pay extra for all of it? Why would you do something like that? Whereas, you know, with Linux, you have the ability to configure it to the way that you want it, which allows it to run faster, and it's not bogging down your hardware. My laptop, just with the installation of Linux, operates faster than, because I started in the Windows XP environment, if you guys remember Windows XP. Windows XP moved at a decent speed because it wasn't so girthy. It wasn't until they came to Vista and 8 and 10 and 11 and what are they? 12 now. You know, it wasn't until then that they went and they you know, started loading down your machine, requiring you have all this hardware, and then all it does is slow it down and means that it's not going to work, and then it wears it down because, you know, the hardware, it generates heat and it needs to be cooled down, because if it doesn't get cooled down, it's going to melt, and you don't want your stuff to melt. So you don't need to, if you're not needing to use the hardware, then don't use the hardware, if that makes any sense. Okay, so, you know, with Linux, you get the opportunity to really, you know, hone in and decide what it is that you want, because you get to determine your own experience. Not only that, it is what is called open source. Okay, and why is open source important? And this is something that I'm learning through reading my book. This goes back to owning nothing and being happy. You know, the next computer that I get, now I've been offered, oh yeah, we can just get you a pre-built one and so stuff like that doesn't come with the OEM stuff, and that's not necessarily what I want. That's not really what I'm getting, because my NVMe drive, if I would have bought it individually, would have come with a 10-year warranty versus the 1-year warranty I get from my OEMs. Okay, And if there's something that goes wrong with it within the 10 years, well, guess what? I can send it in and get it replaced. Whereas with the OEM, I have to call them up and pay $50 to $100 for a support ticket once I reach that 1-year warranty, unless I bought an extended warranty. And then you have these companies, when you go and let's say you buy it at Office Depot or Office Max or Best Buy or stuff like that, they offer their own their own warranty on top of it, which doesn't even kick in until the manufacturer's warranty goes away. So a lot of people end up buying that, thinking that the retailer that gave them that warranty was giving them a good warranty, not fully understanding that was just in addition, that you could come back to them, and then you're still going to be without your laptop or your desktop for a specific amount of time. But if you take the time to educate yourself on your hardware, on your specs, on what it is that you have, you know what you're getting. It's just like somebody who's building a car from the ground up. You know what kind of car that you're building, and it's not going to be built to fall apart after 150,000 miles. You're going to build it to last 300,000 to 500,000 miles because you've taken the time to understand the mechanics of building a car. Now, there might be some parts that you get pre-created, pre-manufactured, such as like your guts. You just want to focus on the engine and everything under the hood, and leave like all the axles and stuff like that to some the body manufactured ones. In the same way that with a motherboard on a computer. So that means I could go out there and I could get the video card that I want, and I can get a full warranty on it. And I get to assume the responsibility of that because I've taken the time to educate myself, know my hardware, know what it is that I'm having. So the average computer lasts anywhere from 2 to 3 years, and it takes about 2 years to break even on it to be able to make your money on it, right? So if you get the 2 year, you reach the 2 year mark, it lasts another year, so you made a little bit of profit on it based upon use and the cost benefit analysis, and then you've got to send it off to be recycled because you can't just throw it in the trash. You will get in trouble if you do something like that. And then what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and they're going to scavenge the parts, and they're going to maybe refurbish a couple of things, maybe put some pins on it, or fix this or fix that, and then they're going to put it back out for production so that it can be resold on a lower end machine, as a refurbished part that they're going to put in with what you're going to be thinking that you're buying as a brand new machine, and so therefore it gets recycled and reused, versus you taking the opportunity of being like, okay, I just need to replace this part. Your motherboard is going to last so long. Your video card and your hard drive and your virtual drive are going to last so long. And the manufacturer, especially if you buy quality products, the manufacturer is going to honor a longer term warranty than anything that your OEM is, because they're making most of their money on those support tickets, or you're in confidence in going because you don't know what it is that you're doing. You just wanted to surf the internet and watch your porn. You fail to educate yourself, and they're taking advantage of your ignorance, which is therefore costing you more money. Okay, and so this is again why it's important to be able to educate yourself, and this is why if you watch the video that I put out yesterday, that is talking about the topics that are coming up, because I think that as an individual, I think that as an individual, as preppers, I think that we need to take that time to really educate ourselves. Here, I'm actually going to read you something that was sent to me on my phone, because I keep thinking, well, what, maybe I'm not a prepper, like I thought I was. Maybe I'm not. And so I was sent this definition of what a prepper is. And it says, a prepper's mindset is one of continuous learning and development, working to improve their strengths and reduce their weaknesses. They don't let their mistakes hold them back from growing and improving. Long-term preppers often skilled in many different things and brings confidence and self-belief, which is self-reliance, okay? So this is just another tool in your toolkit. We are in the digital world. We are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. We've got robotics. We've got artificial intelligence. We've got the automation of the workforce. We no longer need the large population to be able to deal with the manufacturing process anymore. Okay, and that means that we can the things are going to be changing, and it's not going to change overnight. It doesn't change today or tomorrow. It's going to change over the next 50 years. Okay, it's going to take a while, just like how China went with the one-child policy, so that they could reduce their population because of how much strain they were putting on resources and just their society as a whole. And so they had to bring down their population and do it in an ethical or semi-ethical way by just having a one-child policy. You know, they made they had their unintended consequences. Okay, fine, that happens. It's part of the evolution of us as humans. But you know, it is, we no longer need the large workforce for the factories anymore, because we have robotics and artificial intelligence to take care of that for us. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you think it's right or not, it's going to happen, because unless we band together as individuals, as a collective, and say, no, we don't want this, then it's going to happen. And so either you're going to get on board or you're going to get left behind. And if you get left behind, you know, you see those bums that are you know, drinking themselves to death on a street corner. That's going to be you. I mean, it's the cold hard truth. Because if you fail to evolve with society, to adapt and to overcome, you are going to be left behind. You know, my mom, because she was so adverse to technology, that as a CNA for 21 years and being physically unable to do that job anymore, and not only that, having a learning disability, she was not able to take advantage of the new workforce because she just couldn't understand computers. She just couldn't understand how to do basic data processing and data entry, even at a time when we were transferring everything from paper to computer. Okay, we're talking about 2000 to 2005. Okay, my mom was not able to improve, and so she got the remainder of her life was stuck living on peanuts. Okay, now if you are wanting to you know, keep up with society and evolve with it to ensure not only your survival but the survival of your family, that means you're just going to have to get on board and quit complaining about it and take the time to educate yourself, which is why I'm bringing the topics that I'm bringing. Okay, so I hope that I haven't written everybody off with this. I see that that we still got 3 people that are here. Okay, if you guys have any questions, anything that you would like to ask, feel free to ask. The investigative reporter is doing a lot to kind of help you know, shore up my shortcomings, because you know, I'm having to get more prepared. I'm having to take a lot more time. I'm having to take. Okay. Hold on a second. So my stream health is going down again. Okay. It's gonna go that way, but I think that, okay, now it's back to excellent. Okay, good. So, you know, as things move forward, you're going to see me try and educate you guys on keeping up with the new economy, on evolving and getting yourself prepared and pre-positioning yourself. Because as the demand is out there, because this is new and emerging technology, they need people that will come in and, you know, take the opportunity to educate themselves and to improve their skill set, and then you'll be able to make quite a bit of money. If you go as a Windows administrator, you're not going to make more than $50,000 a year now, because there's so many damn Windows administrators that they took the MCSE from being just 7 tests to now it's 7 tests, but you're specializing in either SQL or Active Directory or, you know, or this or that or the other. And it's something that it's becoming specialized, because it became so oversaturated. Because, you know, Microsoft is great at marketing. That's one of their strong points, is they're great at getting people to understand that, hey, they are the biggest market share. But the truth is that everything that you own actually runs on Linux. 90% of everything that is out there, technology-wise, runs on a Linux kernel in one form or fashion. Okay. Now, even Microsoft has to use Linux in the background to be able to stabilize their own product. That is how reliable and how important it is. But yet there is not enough people out there that have the skill set to be able to understand Linux, because it requires that you really know what it is that you're doing versus point, click, and use a wizard, which is what frustrates me most about wasting my $40,000. Because I realized once I got into Linux how little I actually knew. When you're in a Windows system, it's point, click, go over here, run this wizard, do this, get this piece of software, do this. There's very minimal math, except for like when you're doing CIDR notation and you're setting up your IP addresses within the internal network, and you're subnetting your internal network. That's where your math comes in, but you're relying on the software to do everything for you versus what it is that Linux requires, that you understand your software, you understand your hardware, you understand what it is that you have, so that you can go out there and use it proficiently. And it doesn't really require like a huge learning curve like everybody thinks, especially if you just want to use it for basic computing. And not only that, unlike with Microsoft and Apple, there is so much proprietary software out there that is free because a lot of the software developers, they when they create something, they have a new idea, they put it on Linux, because then it goes out to the market, and if it gains popularity, then they may have an opportunity, if they want to sell a paid version of it. It's kind of like how books work. And this is one of the great things about Linux, is that you have access. So I have an Office suite that operates just like Microsoft Office, just as good. It's called LibreOffice, and I can do that. I have and there's some tools that are better than anything that you would ever get on Microsoft, and it's all free. So the operating system you're not paying for. Okay, that's part of open source. Okay, it is just part of what the whole world is. Okay. Just sorry guys, I've not been sleeping well the last week or so, just because of how much stuff's been going on. Okay, but so what you're really paying for is you're paying for the hardware. That's what you're paying for. So the operating system is free, the updates are free, the software that you get to use with it is free, and it's not free as in free lunch. It's free as in freedom, because it's not like you get it for free and it's like, oh great, I can just use it, it's free. No, it's not like a free hammer that you find on the ground. You got to understand how to use it. You got to understand how to configure it to be the way that you want it to be. Think of it like whittling a stick into something that you want it to be. Okay. This is the price that you have to pay, is education, is understanding, and the more that you understand, the easier it's going to be. But a Linux administrator starts off at they start off at $130,000 a year. Yeah, starts off at $130,000 a year. Okay, and can go all the way up to $300,000 a year versus the $50,000 as a Windows administrator. When I was in the industry, you were getting paid $70,000. That was because the field wasn't oversaturated. The field has become oversaturated, which is why the pay scale has gone down nationally. Okay, because there are, Windows administrators are a dime a dozen. But people who really want to take the opportunity to learn their software, to learn their hardware, and to learn how to configure their system, and just have some basic proficiency. It's not like I have to be some guru, because I'm not a guru. When I first started in the IT field, when I first started in my schooling, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. I read some books, I followed the class instruction, and I learned what I needed to do. So now that I'm being exposed to Linux, I at least have an understanding of what's being talked about to me, so that I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I get it. Oh, that's why this is important. And it's just simple things like that. You can go get a Linux for Dummies book before you even do an install. But here's the thing, if you buy an OEM machine, you're probably going to have some trouble. So you're probably going to want to, from what I understand, you can buy an Asus or a Lenovo. They're not going to put those locks on it like the big brands do. Okay, so if you're wanting to go the Linux route, and the thing is you don't have to have screaming hardware in order to be able to have a fast machine like you do on the big box ones like Microsoft and Apple. Okay, because it operates at such a minimal level that even old hardware will be able to operate at a fast level like what you were used to back in the day before they came out with Windows Vista. Okay. Now, I'm not an Apple guy. It's too simple for me. I can't understand the simplicity of it. So I don't know much about Apple other than a little bit I've played around on. My old man, he's proficient with an Apple machine. I'm not. Okay. So anyway, since I see that nobody has had any questions and it's been about an hour, I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. So some things that you guys are going to see down in the description. So now I have Bitcoin. Okay, this is something that my mentor is working with me on. It's not cash, but if you want to make a donation and you want to kind of help fund what it is that I'm doing, because I'm going to be direct with you. To put the 5 videos a week out that I need, it's going to take at least 40 to 50 hours a week in research. Just research. And then I'm probably going to have to put another 20 hours a week just in the production of it. So I'm looking at anywhere from 60 to 70 hour weeks once I get this up and running the way that I need it to run. Right now we're in the configuration stage, and then also I got to write content for a website so that I can you guys have access to tools and I can explain those tools to you to where you can understand how to use them and the importance of them and why it would benefit you and how it affects your digital privacy and your digital security, okay, as well as sharing with you on how to educate yourself and what the new and upcoming opportunities are in this new economy. Okay, so if you guys really would like to help me out through crowdfunding, it would be much appreciated. Now I am doing my own I am doing plasma, so I mean I do have a few $100s a month that I am able to make to offset it, because I'm sitting in a Starbucks most days or a coffee shop, and in order to sit in this coffee shop and not get kicked out, that means I got to buy a coffee, and coffee is not cheap. I mean, I remember when a year or two ago I could go into Starbucks and buy a coffee for $1.50. Now a small coffee is like $3. I mean, and if I haven't gotten sleep that night because my brain never wound down, now I need something with like 4 shots of espresso in it. Now I'm looking at $7 to $10, and that starts to become expensive over time. Okay, plus one of the other things that we're working on is acquiring certain tools that I need so that I can go out there and market my skill set as I learn it as well, and then be able to share those things with you. But when it comes to crowdfunding, I'm going to ask you guys, you're not paying for me as a broke hobo. What you're doing is you're helping me have the time that's necessary to bring you the quality information and the quality production that's done in a uniform manner that will in a meticulous way, so that I can educate you guys and share with you guys the ability. Share with you the abilities that I'm learning, share with you the skill sets that I'm learning to help improve you guys, okay? Also, I'm going to ask that because I'm having trouble with the YouTube monetization, the YouTube partnership program. So on the 15th of last month, they sent me a PIN card, which I'm supposed to use for verification. It's the final stage before I can actually set up getting paid from them. And if I don't have that fixed by 4 months from the first card being mailed out, so we're looking at I think September or October. If I don't have that fixed, then I get unenrolled, and so everything that I've earned will be either YouTube will keep it, or they will refund those that have done the super stickers and things like that. Okay. So if you guys are going to do donations, either do it through Bitcoin, PayPal, the affiliate marketing, or CashApp. Okay, those are the ways to where you can help me, and I've already got everything set up with them. But if you really, the other thing that I really would like your guys' help with, I mean, because I know that some people are having struggles with money just because of inflation, and we're on the verge of possible hyperinflation, and the real estate market's going upside down and things like that. The market is correcting itself, and it's going to be a painful process as the ship rights itself. Okay, so I understand that, but what you can do, if you really believe in what it is that I'm doing and you really want to help the channel, is help me get my voice out there. Talk to your friends about this, share this content with them, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be sitting there on your phone and just showing them one of my videos, whether you have various ways that you can do that. But we really need to work on growing this audience so that we as a community can at least give ourselves a fighting chance to be ahead of the curveball that's coming at us. Because right now, especially with what happened with the cough, it accelerated the change, and it's going to make something that could have been less painful more painful as we go through this change. And so the quicker the quicker that we can share this information with people, the more that we can disseminate this to kind of help everybody get somewhat of a fighting chance, the easier it's going to be on those that really want to pre-position themselves for what is coming. Okay, so with that being said, I'm just going to see how many people do I still have here. I have 2 people. Okay. Well, for those of you that have stuck around to the end, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you. I hope that you guys got something from this. I hope that this helped point you in a direction to help you improve your life and be prepared for what is coming, okay? And to have an alternative point of view to what is coming. Excuse me, because that is what the uniqueness of this channel is. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys